Hi, and welcome back to my channel. This time I'm going to be showing how I make my hat pins, also known as stick pins. These things are so versatile. We don't use them for hats anymore, although some of them you could. They make great lapel pins if they have a lock on the bottom. I will show you some of those too. But it was pointed out to me that these are not only good for holding thread down onto your pin cushions, like I showed the other day, but they're also good for counting stitches and for marking stitch points, which is a really wonderful idea. I've never actually tried that, even though I've used these pins for years. So that is going to be one of my goals. My window's open, it's Wednesday morning here, and trucks are going up and down the highway. I just explained about Route 22 in my last video briefly, because that used to be the Great Northern Turnpike. It goes from just above New York City all the way to Canada. And my house, back in the day, it was built in the late 1700s, like 1786 or so. Used to be a stagecoach stop on the Great Northern Turnpike. Stagecoaches used to stop here to refresh their horses. It wasn't a tavern or a inn, to my knowledge. It was just a place to change horses. So it's all really interesting. Route 22 has a lot of great history. Anyway, back to stick pins as I ramble along. You can use many things to make stick pins. I've made a lot of them in my time. There was a point where people were making them and trading them on card making and scrapbooking groups. They were actually making little books that they made sets of them in and traded, which was all very fun. I kind of caught that craze. It just takes beads and pins and some imagination. So I've used everything from these kind of crystal, these are acrylic crystals. They're not really expensive crystal heads. And you can see I get these in the floral department, like at Joann's. They come in a box. And they kind of have some run over onto the pin, which I'm trying to show right here. And I usually wind up clipping this off because I don't want my beads down this low. And it generally comes off really easy. You can even just break it off. You don't really even need to use your wire cutters. So anyway, these. And then there's also these pearl-headed floral pins, which I have some out here. And these are a little bit longer. These are, you can see, oh, no, they're about the same. I lied, sorry. I thought they were longer. These are, let's see, in the box with the pearl-headed ones, it's a box of 144, so it's a gross of pins, and they're 6mm white floral pins, and they're 3 inches long. So that's what those pins are. And they're right there. And they're just called floral pins. And I'm sure you get them in the floral section of Joann's. You can also get these corsage pins. I'm not really sure where I got these, but there's also 144. And these are oval topped. And it says these are 2-inch, 5.1 centimeters. These are in a cute little box that, if I can make my hands work, just pulls out of here. And you can see they're shorter by an inch. See if I can get these where you can see them. But those are those pins. Now you can also use bead caps. I don't know if I have any bead caps out right now, but I can show you I've made several, different kinds of stick pins with many assortments of beads. These are familiar to everybody, I think. These are the Jesse James beads, I think. Or anyway, these are beads that come strung in a row in like Joann's in the jewelry department. And this is a little rondelle. And then there's some crystals. And I just put it all together. There's a little silver spacer bead here. And that's a little colored pearl bead. And then at the bottom, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, that's actually a crimp bead and a crimp cover, which I'm going to show you how I do this. Sometimes what I find is just putting glue or just putting crimp beads on these pins isn't enough. They do give out after time. So generally what I do, and I ordered these on eBay. You can see they say there's 3,000 in there. I didn't count them. But these are crimp beads that I ordered on eBay. And then these are crimp covers. These actually go around the crimp beads after you crimp them, and they make them look like little silver pearls. If you can get these to work, good for you, because I have to say I fight with these things. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. These gold are tube-shaped crimp beads. And there goes a little plane from over at the small airport. That's it's actually the next highway over. It's the Cambridge Valley Air Club. And those are like little Piper Cub planes. They're fun to be outside and see. They also have hot air balloons that go off from over there. So I see lots of interesting things. My Instagram picture, if you follow me on Instagram, is actually a picture of the hot air balloons in the sky coming up from right across the street. You can see the telephone lines. It's fun. It's a very pretty area. And then I digress. These are the covers that go over the gold crimp beads. And again, I buy those pretty much at eBay. You can also buy them at Fire Mountain Gems. And then I have amazing stick pins that are this long. And you can do these the same way. These are probably honest to goodness hat pins. I mean, these are long. And you can get these, let me see. These are bulk. I can see that I did get these at Fire Mountain Gems. And this was a mix. This was a stick pin mix, 3 to 8 inches. They're 18 gauge, and it's a 1/4 pound of them. Not that I, need to do this many stick pins, but I am well geared for stick pins. And so that's those. And then there's these, which are a mixture of gold and silver. Now, I don't have the locking mechanisms for these, but in Joann's, at least I think it was Joann's, you can get stick pins like these. Sorry for the glare. But the top of the stick pin is actually up here, and it's flat, like a regular push pin, pin that sewing pin. And down here at the point, there are these locks that go on the end of the pin. And I had one of those out here. And she's pretty big. I'm not sure how I lost her. Oh no. Oh, there she is. She's hiding behind some beads. But then this is an angel that I made. And this is actually a polymer clay bead that I made myself. And it has a design in it. And that's a bead cap. And this is a upside down butterfly that I use for wings. And then this is 3 spacer beads, a cat's eye pearl bead, a bead cap, and a rondelle. Nope, not a rondelle, silver spacer bead. And then that flat little end is the top of the stick pin. And there's the locking mechanism. That would make this like a lapel pin. A little heavy for a lapel pin because of the polymer clay bead, but she was an angel that was a lot of fun to make. and could pin into anything, you know, a wreath even, and come out and be usable. But, or a scarf, make her a scarf pin. I really enjoy making these. And so those are two various pins, one made with a definite lapel hat pin, one made with just a floral pin. And then this is the group that I showed the other day. Someone asked me where I get these white beads, and honestly, it's just, you know, I pick beads up at the craft store, or I order them from Fire Mountain Gems. Sometimes they're bulk bags, you know, grab bags that they put out for sale. But that's pretty much how I buy them. Even Walmart's, at least the Walmart's in Bennington, was selling boxes of bead assortments, and you can get them there. Here, I'll take this one off because I can see this one's letting go. I didn't put E6000 on all of the ones that I made the other day. Some of them I was experimenting just using the little crimp bead. So what I'm doing in this case is I'm pushing it down further, taking my wonderful E6000, which I swear by. This is the only glue that I use for stuff like this. It holds. I have put things in the dishwasher by mistake and it holds. Hot glue melts. I mean, it's hot glue. It doesn't just melt once. It continues to melt. So if it gets hot, it gets droopy. If it gets old, it gets brittle. Things will fall apart. E6000, if you want it to last and hold up under wear and tear, I mean it, for everything. So I'm going to take my top off. Try not to get this all over my hands. There's a little bit coming up over the top, and I am just laying my stick pin down in it and running it up to the top. Putting my cap back on my E6000 so I don't have a huge mess. And then I'm going to take my bead from down at the base, and I'm just going to push it back up. And then I will take my handy dandy piece of paper towel and just wipe the excess off the top. And then once that E6000 dries, this won't go anywhere. I mean, it's pretty well, it will be set. And then I can use it for whatever I want. I'll leave that over here to dry. The angels are the same way. This is one of the heavier stick pins that I showed in the big bulk bag from Fire Mountain Gems. The gauge of the wire is heavier than a floral pin, and it tarnishes some, but the tarnish will wipe off with paper or a soft cloth. And for that I used, let's see, that's a crimp bead with a cover on it, a crystal, some angel wings that you can buy by the strand in Joann's or Michael's, a silver bead, a daisy spacer, and then that's just the top of the lapel pin. And that's the same for this long one. So let me just show you, let me get some of this stuff out of the way, and I will just show you an easy one using one of these crystal pins. And the process is going to be the same. I'm going to decide what beads I want to use. And here I have a huge container. And this is a glass jar that you can buy in like A.C. Moore, Hobby Lobby, Joann's, wherever. Or if you have a candle that's finished and you save the top, put the jar in the freezer, freeze the excess wax. It'll chip out. You can use a dryer sheet. A used dryer sheet will clean any smoke that's left inside the jar, wipe it out with that. And all I did was take some of those glass marble chips that you can buy in the floral department. E6000, swear by it. Put the glass chips on the bottom of the jar, and you have a pretty jar that you could even embellish further to put things like your beads in. And these are just various strands of beads from Joann's, Michael's, Fire Mountain Gems that are kind of, you know, make a pretty combination in this jar. And then in this is just a regular Tostitos crunchy salsa jar that I washed out. Label didn't come off it very well, but this jar is just full of different pearls that you can buy strung, again, at any big box store. So anyway, let me open this up. And I have things in all different colors. I mean, shall I show you my glass candlestick that I E6000 a jar onto? There's a decorative jar that you could even buy probably at the dollar store, or use a candle jar. And there's a whole bunch of acrylic and glass beads in shades of purple. See, this is a multifaceted show on how I make stick pins, because now I'm showing you what all my beads are stuck in. I also have one of these tower containers that you can buy where the sections screw off that hold a lot of my crystals, little pearls, and black beads. I mean, sometimes I think collecting is half the fun. Anyway, I digress. Let me go back to this. So first things first, you only want to bead down so far, because if you want it to be a workable pin, you have to have enough space in the bottom that you can actually use it as a pin. So before I get any glue and stuff out, I need to figure out what I want to put on this pin. And I'm thinking, I didn't get any spacer beads out, I don't think. So let's see, I've got all kinds of beads. Let me just pick some and get on with it. Now for this, these are good because this makes an automatic stopper, and it's going to close up any big holes. Pearls can be a little difficult because the holes aren't regular. Now for the top of this one, I could use one of these small metal Chinese charms because it has a hole through the middle of it. So I just want to make sure that I put it on so the flattest part goes towards the bottom. So I just strung that on the pin. And then this has like a charm loop on it too. So if I do put this on first, it means I can thread a fob or some other little charm dangle in there. Now my dogs are going to start. Sorry. But before I do anything, I want to pick the beads and the order and get that set up. Let's see. Now that's kind of a brass color, but that kind of works with it because it gives it a little bit of let's. Hold on. Okay, dog taken care of. Sorry about that. Then I may pull one of these little black beads, I think. I'm just looking at it to see. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And for that, really, I would want another flattish bead for the bottom. But, maybe I'll just use one of my small black bead. So I'm just going to go in my tower, open up this black bead section, and put one of those down. Okay, and that's probably plenty because, like I said, you want to be able to keep most of that pin usable. So we're already encroaching down the pin. And for this, I think I would use my silver crimp beads. So let me pull out a crimp. I'm probably not going to put a crimp cover on this simply because I'm not going to fight with it while I try to make a video. It just doesn't work. And for crimp beads, there's a thing called crimping pliers. You can do it just with regular pliers. You just crimp it in one direction and then squeeze it in the other direction and it will close it. I have these crimping pliers and they just have several different like indentations in it that help you to crimp in a thing that holds the crimps better. So the first thing I do is I get my E6000. Again, I'm not squeezing the tube or anything, I'm just taking the top off. And it all kind of goops around. So first I'm going to wipe around the edges just because I don't want my threads glued up. I'm going to take my stick pin and just at the top edges here, I'm putting some glue on and I'm kind of pushing it down that way a little bit and then up towards the top edge. Although when I push the beads up, that will work its way up the pin. Put my cover back on the glue. Oh, these dogs are going to drive me crazy. Okay. I'm going to put that bead on and work it down. Try not to move all the glue. Actually, you could put the beads on first, slide them down like I did when I was re-gluing that other bead. And that would be good too, because then you just move the glue under the beads as you're pushing. But there's the fancy bead. And here is the faceted crystal bead. And I'm going to put these dogs in their kennels if they don't stop. And there's my black end bead. And I really think that is going to look pretty good, and it gives me a place to be a little creative on the other end. And now I'm going to put my crimp bead on this pin. Doesn't seem like it should fit, but it does. Then, so that's what that looks like so far. And this looks a little odd because of the color, but I think it'll be fine once I, add something to that little dangle. Now I'm taking my pliers and I'm pushing my crimp bead up to tighten this whole thing up, and then I squeeze. And I don't know if you'll be able to see that. I don't know if it's going to focus on it, but it's a very lightweight metal and it just bends. When you crimp it, you're actually pushing it around the core. So then I'm going to take it, and there are like little wings sticking off it now. And I'm going to take it and I'm just going to crimp it again. And between the crimp and the E6000, that's a pin for life. Now you don't need to crimp it. If you just put the E6000 on and let it dry well, those beads shouldn't go anywhere either. But I like to do both. And that's what that looks like. So, like I said, you can add polymer clay. You could even make fabric beads and put fabric beads on them, paper beads. If you really want lightweight, you can use up your stash of fancy beads. You can use pearls. You can use, I find the 3-inch, at least 3 inches, is a good length. I find a 2-inch to be a little short, but I mean, as far as the 2-inch goes, you could put just a single bead on and it's, still beautiful, and you still have plenty of pin to work with. So it just depends what you want to do with these. They're highly functional. Okay, so that's my stick pins. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that that was enough information and gives you an idea of how I make them. Hat pins, stick pins, lapel pins, scarf pins, pin pins. I mean, I love them. They're addicting. I mean, once you start, good luck stopping. And until my next video, I hope that you have a lovely, happy, colorful, crafty, stitchy day. Thank you for joining me. My other channel is Kelly Bell, and I craft on that channel. I haven't done a video over there in maybe a week, so I may have to put up a polymer clay video or something soon. But this is it for today. Enjoy. Thank you. God bless. I so love this community and appreciate the sharing and the camaraderie. I thank you for your friendship. I'm KL Bellissima on Instagram. I haven't posted there a lot, but I intend to start. I also have a Facebook page called Cambridge Gifts by Kelly, because I live outside the village of Cambridge in New York. And thank you for joining me. Have a colorful